Hello, every folks, and good morning! At long last, it's time to do the Tactics Ogre One Vision tier list thing. Have you ever tried to tier list out your fried chicken? It takes quite a decently long time, actually. I'm sorry this took so long to put together. It's something that I intended to do months ago, and then, like another month ago, I thought it was already ready to go, and then it turns out there was another class that I missed, and yada 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 yada. It just keeps going on and on and on. There's literally more classes than party slots by a margin of like 2 to 1. It's kind of insane. Anyway, I mean, granted, it's not that there's physically that many classes. It's just like you can't fully test all of them completely without, some shenanigans. Anyway, that's besides the point, though. Let's go ahead and get started on this thing, shall we? So, today we are tier listing out everything here. This is going to be rated off of a bunch of different things, but importantly, we're not just doing a simple A tier, S tier, whatever else kind of thing, because frankly, then we would just wind up with endless amounts of A and S tiers. There's nothing below that, to be completely blunt. There's arguably like one that's maybe below that a little bit, but even then, it's really splitting some hairs. So, with that said, let me explain what we're doing here. So we're going to be listing them off the following criteria. So it depends is about as bad as it gets. They're basically units that are going to be maybe situational, but there's something that you couldn't reasonably put into every party. Cannons are going to be the ones that are basically damage in terms of their best overall roll, though even then, a lot of the more glass cannon-y units generally have a lot of other functions, so that's barely even a consideration here. Fun to use are the ones that are just really, really fun to use. Maybe they're not perfectly optimal for every situation, but like they're just a dang good time. But actually, why don't we just go ahead and start introducing some tiers here? So the only ones that I could think of immediately for the It Depends tier are going to be the unique Gryphons. So these are going to be Abda and Berta. You've got your Berserker Gryphon. You've got your Steel Stance Gryphon, your Light and Dark. Basically, they are the, what are their faces? Rafa and Malik of Tactics Ogre One Vision, more or less, except they just sort of showed up as Gryphons, I guess. So their whole shtick is that they are unique Gryphons, and that's the problem. Standard Gryphons are absolutely amazing. When it comes to unique Gryphons, they cannot zombify, which means that while they have Steel Stance, it's still not really going to be as good as, let's say, a Swordmaster using Steel Stance. It's just going to slightly de-aggro stuff. In the form of the Berserker Gryphon, it's cool, but they're not going to have the bulk of, let's say, a Hydra or something like that. So, either way, I'm going to put them down into depends because personally I found them to be a liability as far as Gryphons are concerned, because not only do they in particular have abilities that are great, but they don't necessarily have enough punch to really have that oomph to just like completely sway a fight in and of themselves. They can be empowered. They do have Dragon Breath moves effectively, and they do have area sweeps and stuff like that, but with their loadout, it's not quite enough. They're fun, but they feel like a liability in my book. Meanwhile, though, as far as cannons go, that's absolutely going to be the Hydra. Now, I love the Hydra. They can potentially be devastating in the right circumstances, but unlike standard dragons, they cannot fly, which means that they're landlocked, and they oftentimes are just attacking the things directly in front of them. Great breath moves. It's cool to see that area sweep with their multiple heads. I love the fact that they get Berserk. That's just really a cute touch, honestly. But yeah, they get to go there, mostly because their movement is kind of limited for obvious reasons. And yeah, maybe there's more to them. I just know that as far as I've tested them, they were good frontline fighters, but not necessarily that versatile to do much more than direct cannoning stuff. So we get to pop them right over there. All right, next for fun to use, these are the ones that are like they've got fun gimmicks, they've got fun tools. They may be a little bit hard to implement in some cases. Now, this is one that I'm not even confident about putting it here, to be completely honest. I may move it later. We're going to start off putting the Warden in fun to use. So the Warden is essentially a heavy pumpkin tank. Now, this is cool as a concept. Their self-destruct move, great. Their overall weight and stuff like that is the problem. In order to make use of their bulk to overcome their kind of naturally frailer stats and stuff like that, they have to carry a lot of equipment, which they can do. The problem is that when you're looking for those opportunities to use that big pumpkin bomb move, it never seems to happen on time. So you either sacrifice their defenses and then they get targeted more often, and then you oftentimes end up losing them to that move, or you potentially just don't end up using it, use them more as a tank, and they're kind of, if you don't use them for their pumpkin moves, they're kind of a shittier Dragoon. So that's alright, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to put them into fun to use because it's neat to have them there, but I never quite want them there, you know? So we're going to put them there. At least for the time being. Alright, next for dependable soldiers, this tier is going to be the ones that show up, they get their job done, they know what their job is, it's not exactly terribly complicated, they're very well fleshed out and stuff like that, but they have their role and they prefer to stick to it. And that would be something like the Knight. So, very excellent frontline commander type of unit. They're there to hold the line, and they do that basically better than everyone. And in fact, my personal favorite thing has been putting some flight boots on the one that I was using on my team, because it allowed them to fly basically into the middle of a crowd, throw down a phalanx, and then just 1v1 everything. Just basically immediately hovering down in the middle of a crowd, like 1v1 me, bitches. Just coming down from the heavens. Nobody could beat the guy, and he was constantly stunning things with a power fist, like power gauntlet in one hand, Brynhilder in the other. Absolutely freaking unstoppable. Like, the guy has not died in months. So yeah, great overall unit. Not terribly flashy. Aegis is a great recovery move. Phalanx is a great area kind of denial move. They have their one job. They do it well. They're very good at support with their lightweight divine magics and stuff like that, so love that. Alright, next are going to be the versatile bosses. These are the ones that are not exactly going to be absolute game changers, but they're the ones that are so versatile that they can dance around most things, that they have an answer for most things. And the immediate thing that comes to mind to define this tier is going to be Canopus, the Vartan. Unique as he may be, he's basically, in many ways, like a more versatile flying Valkyrie in some ways. Well, I guess more versatile combat-wise, I should say. They have less logistical support, more kind of combat support there. But self-regeneration, we've got reflection on him in his action moves. He's got a lot of very quick attacking weapons. For heavier punches, he's got the missile spells, he's got his burst spells, he's got ranged attack options as well. Like, he's available to attack from all ranges, all speeds, everything else. Not really much of a heavy guy, but as far as heavy skirmishers, or lightweight skirmishers, I should say, absolute champ. He's able to basically dodge tank better than almost anybody else due to really high evasion, great equipment access, as well as being able to move freely on account of being a Hawkman, on top of not necessarily having as many downsides as the standard Hawkman, while also, again, having that constant regeneration, plus that little trickle heal every time he wants to use Opongo. Being able to reflect gives him a bit more offensive support versus cannon mages and stuff like that, so great unit. Now, next are the game changers. These are the ones that you literally plan around every time that you go into a fight, and I'm actually going to define this with multiple units, and you're going to know exactly why immediately. Valkyrie, obviously. Cleric, obviously. Those are the first two that immediately come to mind as a tie for the game changer category. When it comes to the Valkyrie, we are talking heavy armor. We're talking still having access to lightweight weapons, so this gives them a lot of versatility for counter builds, for spellcaster builds. They've got the heavy spells, they've got the offensive spells, they've got the support spells, they've got item throwing, which basically means that you can have them decked out in heavy armor. They go up to the front, they start throwing poison grenades that can't miss. They self-regenerate through things like HP infusion. You can have an offensive caster variant through things like MP infusion. For those that are coming from Reborn, basically, they've got two skills that allow them to transform what's effectively an adrenaline meter into full health or full MP, kind of like a different version of Conserve MP, which ended up moving to the Necromancer. But yeah, they are... The typical joke in the community has been, if there's a problem, you throw a Valkyrie at it. So they have an answer for everything, and that feels really good. Like, personally, I like running an electricity one, which allows them to charge people's TP, allows them to support with item throwing through field alchemy. They have full item access, support through throwing grenades, occasionally break through tanks with lightning missiles and stuff like that. If there's crowded bursts and stuff like that, heavy armor plus burst spells is very good. They're excellent. And the clerics obviously need no introduction either. In their particular case, their heals are potent enough to heal almost everything up to full, and in fact, their oddly specific imbalance compared to many of the other units is one of the things that this mod in many ways hinges on, because they are amazingly good at support, but they're very, very limited in terms of offense, primarily only being able to attack with finishers, meaning they're very easy to shut down offensively, but it's very hard to shut down a team without dealing with their clerics first. And that that level of support feels amazing because it makes you think about the logistics of things. So just delaying a healer long enough to be able to break through certain lines is a very satisfying thing. Like, they are a definitive part of one vision, and these two absolutely define a lot of the strategy in this mod, and I love that to pieces. Also, right up next to them is going to be the Warlock and Witch, which is kind of like the Valkyrie, but more magically orientated, and swapping out the missiles for AoEs, and then also getting armor-piercing draconics and stuff like that. I recently was running Denim as a Warlock because his kind of Chapter 4 coat kind of looks like the Warlock coat a little bit, and hot damn has he been absolutely stacking up a body count. The versatility of Draconics with things like Agony, as well as being able to stack good defensive items on top of that, working in melee weapons for making their Draconics better, including running a very high parry build with like a parrying dagger and a katana and stuff like that. Very effective fighters in many ranges. I ultimately ended up settling on making him a Water Warlock. Just because I had a whole lot of units running Draconic, so I kind of wanted to give it a rest for a moment. And so he basically was serving as an assistant to his own Cleric through things like Purify. Acid Rain eventually became really solid for clearing out crowds. Corrosion was always a constant pressure move, and that's actually something that Canopus has as well. Being able to use Corrosion for breaking down TP and stuff like that on units that can sacrifice some stuff to have higher mental stats. Beautiful. It constantly suppresses things like finishers. Warlocks are a great counter to a lot of finisher spam type of units, especially monster type of units. So that's good stuff there. All right, let's just go down the list in the order that I randomly see them here. Okay, next in the... I'm going to say... We'll think about you. In terms of dependable... Actually, no. I think we put Berserkers under cannons. Berserkers are fantastic, but they are literally designed to be a glass cannon. Their armor options are somewhat limited. They have no ranged options. Their main game plan is run up and punch shit in face. So, yeah, they're great at that job. I personally am not a big fan of Berserkers in this particular case, because oftentimes they're running like dual-wield builds and stuff like that. But yeah, extremely heavy hitters, some of the best heavy hitters. They are very literally designed to be a cannon. There's not really a knock against them, it's just they are limited in their role here. Also, Terror Knights, going up straight into versatile bosses. Somebody's going to get pissed at me for this. So, why are Terror Knights going up into versatile while Berserkers go down there? Obviously, Berserkers are going to do more damage. In the case of Terror Knights, they have so many answers for so many things. They are not the fastest thing in the world, but they are faster than they were in PSP. But being able to deal pretty solid numbers off of percentage-based damage with their drain moves, all of them are percentage-based, and that's very, very good. This means that if they wanted to, let's say, be an Armageddon spammer with a whip, they would be able to do stuff like drain power on heavier units. They would be able to open up on stuff with Drain Heart. They would be able to use Drain MP, or rather Drain Mind, in order to go and set themselves up for any additional spam casting. They have a lot of spells that are useful for slowing down tank-type units, as well as actually some that are even useful versus evasive targets as well. Lots of RT delay type of moves, poison, decay, all that sort of thing. Very, very good tool set in terms of their magic stuff. Their weapons are almost all going to synergize perfectly with Fearful Impact. The new Lament of the Dead with its Curse and Weaken thing, I love the design of that thing so much. For those that missed it, Lament of the Dead got switched so that instead of doing Frighten, it does Weaken plus Curse. Alright? Now, the difference for this, the reason that this matters, is because they can absolutely destroy something with debuffs within seconds. So let's say they set up a Fearful Impact ahead of time. They do whatever buffs they want to on the way to the fight. If they want ranged options, they have their spells for that. They can set up with an MP Leaf, and that's usually going to be enough to use everything that they need to. But once they get in even like medium range, because I would say medium range with like a spear or whip is kind of their ideal situation. In their particular case, they, let's say, have Fearful Impact set up, they go run forward with a Lament of the Dead, and then they follow it up with a Fearful Impact from there. Because of that curse, that unit's luck is bottomed out, which means that it's basically like Mighty Strike with, I would say, an 80% success rate. So, so effectively, they're weakening the unit, and they're also making it much more likely that you will crit against them and that you'll be able to block their attacks. Meaning that you're good at stacking evasion on these guys. They're good at being able to get into the fray and just prevent anything from coming from that direction. Honestly, like, as much as I went into this particular playthrough expecting to prefer knights for holding ground, man, Terror Knights absolutely kick ass at this point. I love it. I mean, again, they don't technically hold ground as well as a knight would, but man, they are very, very good at shutting down offense. Like, as always, the classic pairing of a knight and Terror Knight is absolute perfection. The two of them end up tag teaming really, really well. You know, a knight handles the blocking, this guy handles the shutting down, and then you use Shadow Break to go detonate it and then throw a breach on top of everything. This is why I don't like running axes on my Terror Knights, because you get like a whip, right? It's got False Strike on there, Fearful Impact guarantees Fear plus False Strike, plus you get the Weaken, plus you get the Curse, plus you then get the breach from Shadow Break. They can very literally stack 5 debuffs just off of that. It's kind of fucked. Anyway, I love it. So we're gonna go ahead and put that there. Okay, next for dependable soldiers, we are gonna put the classic warrior here. As always, basically the weapons master. They've got their guaranteed hit moves. Their dodge buff is very, very effective because of how cheap it is to employ. Additionally, they do have ranged options that are technically of the lighter category, but I know my my sidearm warrior that I was using this time around with throwing axes, throwing spears, that sort of thing, has been extremely useful. Very useful as a sort of like kind of getting in there type of skirmisher, just like a heavy skirmisher type of thing. Gave him a grappling hook. He would climb up on top of walls, get in the way of stuff, just keep throwing down all kinds of disabling throwing weapons and stuff like that. They're not exactly going to be terribly flashy, but they were probably one of the better recruiters on the team. So either way, they just get in, they throw all their throwing hobbles around. They end up bashing with a heavy shield. Can't get moved because of that steadfast. They go in, recruit somebody, move on. Not terribly sexy, extremely effective though. Which, speaking of, in terms of an improvement of that, let's talk about the Heavy Flyer. So this is not officially a class of any kind, it's Tammuz though. It's just everything about Tammuz. He is a unique heavy kind of a lizard orc thingy. Basically a unique Heavy Flyer, alright? And so the Ravenman, as I guess he's more commonly known here, he is going to have access to heavyweight classes like the Hoplite and whatnot, but he is able to fly, which basically in and of itself makes him extremely versatile, because those classes usually have a massive downside on account of, well, either being completely landlocked and being forced to use a flying item to fly, like for example the Knight, but in his case, again, Heavy Flyer. That's very, very effective. In fact, the Divine Knight is going right up next to him for the exact same reason. Where on earth is the Divine Knight? Why can I not find it? Did it get cut off? Are we dealing with this again? No. Okay, good. So, Heavy Flyers of both varieties go right here for various different reasons. Angel Knights have a bunch of different moves. This guy has a bunch of different moves. Honestly, they're here for the same reason, because they've got really wide skill sets, ranging from healing to offense, but they all can fly while wearing heavy armor, and that immediately opens up their toolbox like nobody's business. Okay, also, this one's going to be potentially a bit of a controversial one. I'm going to put every single dragon under Game Changers. Now, when it comes to the dragons, why are they a game changer? Well, there's no particular breath move that I would count as being particularly overpowered. They all are disabling in their own ways. They all are offensive in their own ways. But for the game changers, the mental criteria I had going for this was that these are the units you plan around. These are the ones that you have to play around their game plan to get anywhere. And that is exactly what happens with these dragons. Every time you run into them, it's going to be a case of like, okay, so we have our area over here, and all this area over here is denied due to the dragons. You try to hit them offensively with primary attacks, you either have to dump your entire team into cracking one out of the way like they're a wall, or you have to eat their attacks and deal with the amount of locations that they're blocking. Rampart Aura, plus their ability to fly into position, plus their ability to heavily counter anything that doesn't kill them, is very, very impressively good. So, like, for example, Disembowel. I've seen many new players go into One Vision and say, like, oh, you know, they have low defenses. Oh my god, these guys are just going to get completely shredded. I do so much damage versus them, forgetting how high their health bar is. And then they start attacking them, and then realize, oh shoot, I am 6 attacks in, this thing still isn't dead. Oh, what's Disembowel? And that's when your unit count goes down. because it is a heavily scaling damage plus accuracy finisher that basically doesn't miss and one-shots things. On top of their breath moves being insanely good, on top of the fact that they're usually going to be paired with beast hammers and stuff like that, which, yeah, that's gonna hurt. Like, Empowered Disembowel is basically a one-shot. So, very, very strong units. A little bit tricky to use on the player side, because usually on the AI side, they'll throw out like 5 of them casually, and just be like, here you go, here's my wall, work around it. So, as much as they are not necessarily going to have the most diverse skill sets between them, or much equipment variety, they actually get to go into game changers because they very literally change the game every time that they're deployed. That map will have to be played differently, and you're going to have to work around these dragons. I mean, stuff like a Golem, that's definitely going to go into versatile bosses. Arguably, these tiers could go up or down depending on how you want to count it. Because in terms of the versatile bosses here, like when it comes to the Golem, their cores make them play entirely differently. Whether you want them to be a mega tank, whether you want them to be super accurate. I mean, my man over here is basically a Humvee in my current playthrough, where I have him running around with a anima core for high accuracy. He's running a ring to make him more defensive. But his whole game plan is basically to run forward in front of the crowd. Ideally, if I have a Wind Wizard to make him fly, he flies to the front, and then he just parks himself there and throws down phalanxes, taking counterpunches, eating debuffs like a gigantic lightning rod. These guys are basically going to draw fire for the entire team, because, again, of the same reason as the dragons, but in their particular case, Gorge and Lock is insanely good defensively speaking. So this means that he can basically tank absolutely anything whatsoever. Now, they're not necessarily going to change absolutely everything, but if played well, they are a fantastic debuff sponge, the best in the game as far as I'm concerned. So they get to go up here. Like, when you run into one, it's not going to be like you're changing everything about it. When you bring one, it's not like the whole map is going to be entirely functioning differently, but seeing a bunch of wizards go and repeatedly overwrite each other's debuffs trying to break this guy is very, very funny. So he is very versatile, basically can go into any fight and find some use, whether it's his throwing attacks, whether it's just kind of absorbing stuff. Great stuff. Great stuff. All right. Next up on the pile, I'm going to put Gryphons into fun to use because this one's going to be a little bit contentious. See? Quick little delicious coffee sip. Now, when it comes to the Gryphons, I personally find them unbelievably fun. I find them to be extremely good. I like to use a team of 3 zombie Gryphons. Reason for this is because if you give them a Void Ring, their recovery time is ridiculous. So they will reliably be able to actually swarm past anything that can actually exercise them. They fly towards whatever source of exorcism exists. They peck the hell out of it, and then they proceed just using Blood Siphon, or not Blood Siphon. They repeatedly use why am I forgetting the name of it right now? Their HP eating move to continuously keep themselves alive while just outspeeding everything 2 to 3 to 1. Alright? And now there's 3 of them doing that, which means that they can quickly overpower basically anything. Anything that is not a tank, Gryphons can shred to pieces. Anything that is a tank can basically shrug them off all day, but either way, they're a very, very effective unit for certain specific situations. I think that they're some of the most fun to use, but yeah, we'll put them up there. And for a slightly more dependable version of that, we're actually going to go ahead and put the Cockatrice a bit above them. In the form of the Cockatrice, it's basically like the Gryphon, basically the same speed, however, their breath move, I want to point out again, imagine being able to attack 3 times in a row, okay? Their breath move is basically a coin flip to go and completely disable a unit, which means that they fly up, probably don't get immediately close enough, they fly up, and they end up going and pecking something. Immediately get another turn, now they can attempt to petrify it. If they petrify it, they sit in that same spot and just peck it to death. They are very dependable. I wouldn't necessarily say they're terribly versatile because it's like that is their one thing, but man, as far as just dependably being able to know that like I need that thing gone, you send the Cockatrice. So I love them for that. This is gonna be a weird sorting category, whatever, but I think it works, kind of. I'm sure there'll be some contention about it. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on. I just noticed I forgot one of the dragons. There's nothing wrong with that dragon, I just forgot him. I'm sorry. Okie dokie. Next, what do we want to do here? Let's see. Wizards? Yeah, they also go up in versatile bosses. Personally, I think wizards are one of the strongest casters in the game right now because specifically of their niche. So their niche is basically they specialize in efficient spells. Okay, now the reason that this matters is basically due to the fact that MP is occasionally going to be hard to build up. Now, yes, there are a lot of ways you can build up books or whatever else, but I'm talking about a case where you're like 5-6 rounds into a fight, stuff is already actively shooting back and forth for quite a while, and everyone's beginning to run low. And in their case, they can keep continuously meditating and spamming long-range attacks, stuff like that. So they are some of the best at keeping those high-efficiency spells operating, and additionally can still put out a really huge amount of punch while doing so, without any additional drawbacks, and we'll get to that in a bit of a moment. But again, like stuff like missile spells, large area spams, or spamming out debuffs, they have the longest range of most of the casters, and additionally, they have some of the best kind of like overall middle-of-the-road punch against a lot of different things. They're very frail, so they probably almost should go into the cannon category, but because of that range, because of Extend, they actually manage to go up in versatile. In fact, I would argue that they're the best summon users in the game, because summons are locked into 7 range, unless you use Extend, in which case it becomes 7 to 10 range, which gives you a lot more options for actually landing those attacks. So they're the best summoners in the game. They have a good bit of safety buffer due to their range. Some of the few things that are going to be able to hurt them are going to be archers, and 1 fortify is usually enough to dissuade them from being targeted by said archers. So yeah, very versatile unit, excellent fighters, and we get to put them up there. Okay, next is going to be fun to use, and that's going to be rogues, because okay, look, they are nah, screw it. This is going straight up into versatile. Who are we kidding? They would go into fun to use if it wasn't for how good traps are. Traps are 50% damage against anything. Additionally, being able to confer immunity to damage, being able to do a full heal, full MP charge, full TP charge, give or take. I think it's only like a 50 TP charge, actually. Still, though, insanely good. So yeah, those traps are insanely good. Steel is actually pretty practical for keeping your pockets loaded. Stuff like sneak attack, I didn't appreciate for the longest time, but I have started liking it recently, seeing as it's pretty good under some opportunist circumstances. Like, it's not insane amounts of damage, but in cases like, let's say, the Sherry fight, where there's a lot of attacks coming your way, potentially a lot of slowdown moves being used on the opposite side, being a faster unit, they're not necessarily as affected by those slowdown moves, so they end up potentially being in place to go do something like a sneak attack a good bit more often. So either way, that's got a good bit of potential. I like running crossbow dagger on my current rogue. There's technically more melee options if you'd prefer, but I think it's a pretty solid loadout. So yeah, good, versatile, fast, lots of good utility moves, one of the best support moves in the game as far as traps are concerned. Yeah, they're technically using limited resources, but you're going to get them plenty. Okay, so that'll be about there. Alright, next up, we're going to go for dependable soldiers, and that's going to be the archer. They are so close to going into versatile, but then at the same time you could also make the argument that they would have to go into cannon. They are very literally a cannon. They're so good, though. Like, I would gladly take an archer over a berserker or a hydra any day. That's just subjective. That is my opinion. Feel free to have your own opinion, but as far as I see it, they are excellent. Why are they excellent? Because they can put a numbing and silencing poisons on their arrows, which means long-range silence, long-range stun. They can attack from absolute safety. They can attack at extremely long range. You can go for a bit more damage-orientated options, you know, double shots, guaranteed crits, or whatever else, but even running one with no crits, no double shots, anything like that, just standard longbow, using stunning arrows is a game changer, absolutely. But their versatility is a bit limited because it's just stand far away and shoot. So they go into the dependable soldier line. They keep pressure on, and they do that job exceptionally well. They just don't do much beyond that. Okay. Next, let's see. I'm going to put Cyclops into fun to use. It's not bad by any means, but I personally found them a bit less reliable than other options. So the Cyclops has some great moves in the form of, like, if you do an Empower cross chop, that's occasionally a one-shot against mid and lower type units, or armored units, rather. In the case of their spells, they're exactly all right. In the case of their physical attacks, they're exactly all right. They're reasonably bulky. Their debuffs are okay. Again, they're trying to do a lot of things at once. They're fun to use. I just wouldn't really rely on one, you know? Like, they're there if I have a free slot and I just kind of want to bring one, but I wouldn't go out of my way to get one, if that makes sense. They're not quite a cannon because they're not offensively that insane, but it's cool that they can wear little hats. I really love that detail. Okay, next into Game Changers, we're actually going to put the Geomancer. Now, why does this one get rated so dang highly? Now, you may not necessarily plan around any enemy Geomancers because they don't exist, but when you bring a Geomancer, it's functionally speaking like combining together a long-range wizard, combining it together with a golem, and then any pikeman of your choice. Being able to use a pike to then go into Gorge and Lock is just about busted. Being able to throw out very debilitating debuffs in an AoE for a relatively cheap cost, it may be situational where they can use them, but they're almost all pretty darn fantastic. So yeah, I would say getting a Geomancer definitely changes the game when you get them. So they get to go up there. Alright. Shoot, I just noticed I missed one. Dang it, hold on, let me see if it lets me add it. Shoot. You know what? Okay, we're gonna... Let me see if it lets me add one. Please do not delete the rest. What are the portraits? We need somebody to represent, Captain Elrig. Where's that one portrait that he used? I think he's got a basic priest portrait at this point. I forget if he's actually changed again. I'm going to give him the one that he used to have a while ago. If I can find it here. See if we can throw him on the pile, because, yeah, the Sacred Fist is really dang good. I can't believe I forgot that. Give me just a moment. Where in the hell is... You know what, we'll use Gilbert instead. So I'm going to put Sacred Fist under Fun to Use. Just pretend Gilbert is Captain Elrig, okay? So, I'm going to put him under Fun to Use, not because it's a bad class, it is an excellent class, but it is just pure, unadulterated fun to use this dude, okay? They go to the top end of Fun to Use. Getting Light Averse plus their Healing Strike is ridiculous. They have basically an inbuilt ranged attack that is in the talks of being nerfed, because literally their unarmed attack is more powerful than some ranged attacks, and that's by design, because this guy is designed to be fighting unarmed. He's got a haste move from getting drunk in the middle of a fight. Again, Healing Strike is basically a move that either one-shots something or heals them. It's such a weird class. It's got great area heals. It's got good explosion moves. It's just pure flavor through and through. I love it, but it has to go into Fun to Use just because the fun factor outweighs the practicality by orders of magnitude, so I have to put it there. Okay, let's go ahead and move on, because this list is taking a bit of a while, and I'm starting to run low on time. Okay, cannons. Fusilier goes under cannons. Their first aid move is fantastic. If you've played Unicorn Overlord, they're basically the Arbalester from that. Great units. Not exactly the fastest of the bunch. Their hit moves are really fantastic. First aid, one of the more practical pocket heals. But yeah, they go under cannons because that's literally their job. Next, under dependable soldiers, that's going to be the Dragoon, probably going right above the Knight there, because they, unlike the standard versions of TO, they are going to bring back their spell abilities from Knight of Lotus as well as Snez. They have a wider loadout. Their Slayer moves are cheaper, meaning that they're able to get to slaying faster. They're able to use a lot of shutdown moves very effectively. Like, one of my favorite things is to run ice spells on a Dragoon in order to completely get rid of all TP, because those units typically don't have much magical evasion, so they get rid of TP, they get in close, then they can go for their Slayer moves. This means that they can more safely approach their targets and stuff like that. Okay. Next up, for versatile bosses, Enchanter absolutely has to go up there. The class is fantastic. He may not have a plan, but he knows how to kick some ass. Basically, it's a variation of the basic caster slash warlock a little bit. He's got extend from the basic caster. He's got spells from March of the Black Queen, being able to do physical damage with spells at long range that also inflict breach. Ridiculous. He's also able to weaponize a golem by causing them to technically self-destruct. But the fun thing is, Golem's Gorge and Lock is actually going to help protect them from that self-destruction. So what you do is you send your golem in, you use Core Collapse, and then they effectively self-destruct, hitting everything in a huge area around them, and take basically no damage from it. So it's basically primal armor from Armored Core, and I love that. Okay, it's basically like a better version of what the Pumpkin can do with their Pumpkin Bomb. It requires him to do it. Okay, next up for Game Changers, my man Halberim, where are you? You are going right up here. In fact, all the people are going above the dragons, because the dragons are only kind of sort of there. Halberim, he's the one-shot king. Nobody can one-shot like Halberim can. Very few classes in this game are able to actually solo much of anything without getting overwhelmed. In the case of Halberim, yeah. The dude doesn't really quite hit like a truck as much as that truck being launched off a cliff straight onto somebody's nuts. His whole thing is using his MP bar as an additional damage modifier, so he basically boosts up all of his hits, he takes one big swing, and then follows it up by whatever his MP bar's number is, which means that he bypasses armor. So he does like 500s while everybody else is doing 200s. It's great. Anyway. A little bit tricky to use, absolute game changer when you get him, though. For Princess, I would say versatile boss. She is very literally the boss lady there. I mean, that versatility is her whole bread and butter there. She's got the heal, she's got the offense, she's got the equipment sets, and she can go ahead and damage somebody to heal herself a little bit. So pretty solid overall. Or rather, she steals MP by hurting somebody. Though that being said, I, over time, ended up preferring, where's the Dark Priest at? Other Kashua, where are you? Why are you not on the list? Well, apparently I missed that one too. Let's go ahead and find Dark Kashua and put her on the list. Man, you can't say Dark anything without it sounding really stupid at this point. And it's exactly one idiot's fault. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, let's see, Evil Kashua here. Where do I even want to put her? I think, despite the fact that she's objectively super powerful, she also has to go into fun to use. Because effectively she is a hyper lich for all intents and purposes, but again, in this case, being rated for fun factor over direct practicality. And like, as far as game changers go, she's not as much of a game changer as the lich. Like I said, she's basically a modified lich of sorts, okay? She gets the Covenant move that the lich gets, but not necessarily the same spells. She gets physical weapon and armor access, and as well as the ability to use her old Iron Maiden and stuff like that, and that's really good. It's also oftentimes resisted by a lot of things, so she's not able to do all of this stuff at once very effectively, so usually you gotta pick one or the other, and personally I ended up making her into a sort of like fencer kind of thing, eventually switching over to the Chrysagrim. And that's good. She's very solid, she's very fun to use. I just know that in most cases I would prefer to use the Lich, even though they're on a pure power level. If you were to stack them up together, you probably would end up getting a bit more out of Kashua in that case. But I feel like she's more in the fun to use box. Like, I use the Heretic because it's fun, because seeing the big boss move is pretty darn neat, but I would say, like, in terms of practicality, when I absolutely positively need something vaporized, I would bring the Lich instead. Is that partially a build problem on my end? Abso-frickin-lutely. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Next dependable soldier is going to be the Death Knight, Divold, a combination of Necromancer as well as Terror Knight. Very effective at what he does, kind of chunky and slow, but a fun little upgrade for Mr. Divold there, as well as Folkart at this point. Sounds like some of that stuff might be changing, but we'll see. Anyway, fun class, can support undead stuff. They actually will be getting a buff pretty soon, it sounds like. They might be getting more Necromancer-type abilities, but it's a very interesting middle of the road between a Terror Knight and a Necromancer. It fits him thematically extremely well. You can't really go wrong with him. He is very, very strong as far as... actually moving stuff forward goes. Like, if I had a choice between a Terror Knight or a Necromancer, I probably would prefer either one, but he does the job of both commendably well. Okay, next, for fun to use, I'm going to put Lyndal in here. This isn't a bad thing, though. Like, his gimmicks are fun. His long-range grenades are very good. Fumarole is a very powerful move. And there's really nothing wrong about it. He is honestly very dependable, but just the fun factor of shooting a gunblade with him or AoE grenade spamming and stuff like that, like, he's really good. And actually, you know what? He goes into Versatile Boss. He definitely goes up there. Because those AoE grenades are absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, he gets to go up there. Let's see. Dependable Soldiers, White Knights. Yeah, like they're okay. They have their speed up moves. If you use, they've got some versatility when it comes to using items to improve their speed up moves. It's like a heal and a speed up at the same time. They are limited to close range, so they're going to lose out on a bit of versatility there. But they do still have long range spells and things like that, heavy armor and things like that. I feel like the versatile boss tier is getting a little stacked. Maybe we move White Knight up and we move Golem down. Nah, I'm going to say. Oh, that's... Okay, whatever. They all deserve to be up there. Okay, Lord goes into fun to use, top end of fun to use, because it's literally just a custom created class. Swordmaster... yeah, they go under dependable. Like, there's others that can do their buffs arguably better. They do their job well enough. I personally really like this one Hawkman Swordmaster in particular. They are defensive enough that they can usually keep themselves alive just as well as anybody else on that particular tier. Like, they are fun to use, but they're definitely not hyper oppressive or anything. My favorite cannon, by far, like, the cannon tier is not a bad thing. My favorite cannon, by far, is the octopus. I fucking love the octopus. Empowered, just their empowered frickin' water beam annihilates things. It can very literally one-shot like 6-7 units at once. Theoretically speaking, if they all happen to line up. It is insanely good. Like, they do need water to use their water moves, but even when they don't have water, they're just basically a Berserker at that point. A Berserker without the Berserk ability, I should say. So, yeah, great units. They've got great counterattacks. I probably should have mentioned that for the dragons earlier, too. When it came to countering things, that all of these guys have pretty long-range counterattacks, as do the golems, as do the octopi. Some of them are a bit more short-range and or not exactly as threatening, so they get to go there. Okay, time continues ticking on. Let's continue on here. Alright, I'm gonna put Shamans into fun to use. Their weather stuff is cool, and I like their weather stuff, and they are just kind of a glass cannon mage, otherwise it's kind of whatever. Again, it's a fun gimmick. Like, they go into fun to use. They're fun. They're not as fun as the Sacred Fist. Get down there. Or the Heretic, or... You know, they go under the Gryphon. There we go. You get to go there. Familiar, absolute versatile boss. Like, you can build so many things with your Familiar, and they're going to do it so darn fast. Necromancers, I would say, actually do get to go up into Game Changers. If you get one early on, you have somebody that is excellent at using weird debuffs, being able to fully revive somebody. In fact, I would say they actually go up right here, and in fact, now that I think about it, no, that's what it was with Cashua. No, she does get to go up into Game Changer right next to... man, there's so many classes, it's so easy to get confused. Okay, Necromancy. Amazing, okay? Necromancy basically means that you can bring somebody back from the dead, and the thing is, you can also craft the items to cure their undead status, meaning that nobody can actually fully revive somebody in one vision without either sacrificing themselves or, let's say, zombifying them. So they zombify them, they get back up on their feet, and in the case of the Necromancer, they keep bringing them back up on their feet, effectively giving your units immortality. Ridiculous. Very, very solid. So it gets to go up there. Beast Tamers, they are there to support the cannons. Personally, Beast Tamers, like, I stopped using a Beast Tamer entirely after I got Headhunter, to be completely honest. They were alright up to that point, and using something like the Vritra to bully weaker units, to give them empower points, and then just, like, boost an octopus, that's what I was using them for. I feel like there's maybe other ways to do that. Like, the empowering thing is extremely powerful, but they are there very literally to turn something into a cannon. They're basically the ammo loader. They're not too fancy. I don't know. I feel like they kind of go there. They have a bunch of beast supporting abilities, but I know I probably will end up trying to use them more on my next playthrough. I just didn't use them as much as last time because, again, that just sort of felt like their niche. Okay. Next, let's see, I'm going to put lands over here into dependable soldiers. So the Paladin, I don't hate the Paladin. It's a strong class. A strong class on two very strong units. I don't want to use them though. I don't know. It feels like the secondary debuffs on their hits don't land that often. They're strong and stuff. I just feel like I constantly want to bring somebody else along. Like, they do their job well, they show up, they get the work done, they have their fancy moves, and I don't know. I'm just not really feeling the Paladin slash Freya there. A lot of people love this class, though. Maybe we'll just put them on the upper end of dependable soldiers. But they just sort of feel like they're kind of middle of the road in my book, personally. Next, for versatile bosses, the Ninja gets to go about right here-ish. Long-range attacks, close-range attacks, the ability to be extremely evasive, the ability to offensively shut down multiple units at once. They're the only unit that's capable of completely infiltrating the front of the pack there, and shutting down both clerics on an enemy team at once. Their ability to sneak in and instantly get you a victory condition is unmatched. They're not exactly much of a frontline fighter, but even something like using a rail bow plus their sleep bombs, beautiful. Fantastic stuff. Okay, next we get the Headhunter, which... where do we even put you? Like, that... I feel like the Headhunter has to go to fun to use. Because it's basically a better Beast Tamer whose build options are kind of ridiculous. Like, here, let me... where do I have it here? Let me go ahead and pull up a thing here real quick. Hopefully this won't end up canceling something out or whatever else. But I want to pull up the sheer skill list on this class, because previously there was one dude that had it, and that was Gamp. Now there's multiple units. Here, let's see, the Headhunter, right? So let's go down their list of skills, shall we? So they get Mighty Strike, they get Tremendous Shot, they get Beast Slayer, they get Wild Hunt. So guaranteed melee, guaranteed ranged, killing beasts, Wild Hunt for being able to move twice, Sharpshoot for being able to guarantee criticals with a gun, Empower Beast, Momentum from the Juggernaut, and Squash. These guys are absolutely everything beast related in one unit, and they're like a combination of the warrior, half of the beast tamer, partially a juggernaut, partially a fusilier. Like, they can do so much, and it was wild how only one guy had that class. So now that there's more people that get it, you can actually do more stuff with it. But yeah, they're just one of the few cases of a straight up upgrade. Like, they can't empower dragons, but that's okay. Dragons are just fine on their own. Honestly, in a lot of cases, I don't feel like they even need the empower that much. They can do their own thing. In the case of the beasts, they very sharply spike, because speed and hitting power is their thing. So yeah, I'm going to put that there. All right, Songstress. Yeah, weird opinion on this. I'm going to put her down into it depends. It's not that she's bad. She's good at landing her debuffs and stuff like that. You've had instrument users up to that point. You've had dagger users up to that point. Her dances are good. They're unique in terms of their targeting properties and stuff like that. Her support abilities, like being able to charge her own TP, is potentially very good for a finisher spammer in theory. I just feel like a lot of what she does, somebody could maybe do better. And partially that might just might be down to not using her enough. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. That's probably subject to moving. I just know that when I look at Yuria, I'm like, I don't want to bring you. I would rather have a Gryphon, please. So either way, just personal opinion on that. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, let's see. Ozma goes right next to Lancelot. She's great. She's absolutely fantastic heavy hitter. She can shut down stuff by staring and turning it to stone. A bit more limited on her long-range options. Like, let's go ahead and double-check real quick in case I'm missing something. So for Knight Commander, we've got HP Infusion for tanking, Fearful Impact for debuffs, Intimidate for getting rid of readied moves, Bloody Mary for turning something to stone, as well as Infernal Kiss, which is a multi-debuff thing. Only available for Ozma there. As far as spells go, she gets kind of the Dragoon set, more or less. So, not bad, by any means. She is basically an improved Dragoon in many ways. Again, kind of one of those kind of cases where she is able to do Dragon Slayer, but not necessarily anything else. And a lot of melee units can use Slayer by that point. Fearful Impact is cool, but I feel like Bloody Mary is the main one you'd be using rather than Fear, seeing as it can completely disable somebody. So it's cool. I feel like she's just kind of an improved unique Dragoon in many ways, but again, probably just personal opinion on that. Let's move on. Versatile bosses, we definitely got to have Azelstan up here. So Azelstan is kind of a armored ninja, more or less, kind of a combination of Swordmaster and Ninja. He's able to stun things with a guarantee on hit. He's able to use evasion, and even though he doesn't really have much in the way of ranged attacks, he is able to just absolutely Leroy Jenkins shit like nobody's business. He's one of the best charging units in the game. He's basically a Berserker on 20 different types of steroids with God mode on. So yeah, absolute... Hell, you know what? He goes into Game Changers. Like, dude is cracked. What are we talking about? Yeah, he gets to go probably up here-ish. Hell, you know, he probably is more reliable than Denim on my team at the moment. He's one of the few that's able to very convincingly not only do a dual-wield build, but do it so well that nothing can actually touch him. His evasion and dexterity are super freakishly high. His speed is pretty good. His defenses are ridiculously good. When it comes to his, one of those weirdly specific things that's really good on him, he comes with Herpetology at like rank 4 or something. So that plus Coax, any lizard unit on an enemy team is just immediately on your team. This guy seduces lizards all day. He learned from XCOM 2, and he wanted some of that Snake Lady action. God, that's messed up. Anyway, let's continue on. Speaking of Snake Ladies, the Matriarch goes into Dependable for the same reasons as always. They're not a crazy powerhouse. They're a good amount of like middle of the road as far as magical power goes. Ivory Tower is very good. Combine it with a spear, they can convincingly be a kind of tanky frontliner when they need to, an offensive magic support when they need to. Can put on a lobber if you need them to be an item support or something. Makes it really good for abusing Ivory Tower for taking those immunity hits. Again, basically the best defensive move in the game, but offensively a bit lacking. Also, Lamias are a bit of a weirder one to get a hold of. So, they go into there. They're dependable, they're good, they're pretty versatile, but not as much as some of the others above them. Also, probably right next to there is going to be the Trickster, which I will say... there is one combination that feels extremely broken at this point. Like, I love the Trickster, okay? I've been using it for a while, but its main thing was, like, it could spam debuffs like crazy, be a solid evasion tank, and shut things down. So I was using a 1 HK plus their guaranteed poison, occasional stun move, right? So this means that they could drain TP, they could poison something, and then they could get rid of, or they could potentially get rid of any counterattacks with stun at the same time. Now, that's very good. They also have a vampire move that allows them to basically eat something's health, which apparently is based off of weapon damage. Because as soon as they got the Goddess bound, they became one of the most overpowered units on the team by a pretty wide mile. To the point that they could basically eat something in half with that vampire move. They could, functionally speaking, 1v1 bosses with that sword at long range because it's a 2-tile weapon. So yeah. It's a class that is generally dependable and fun to use and very versatile in terms of being able to spam debuffs and avoid things, that turns into a freakish juggernaut with certain weapons. So that gets to go there. Alright, next in terms of... Yeah, once again we have to go dependable, I think, with the Furia. She's good, she's not oppressive, though. And I want to point out, don't make a generic Furia. This is an oddly specific thing. Something about Aircell's stats works particularly well for that class. So it's her unique, like, half Lightning Warlock, half Archer thing, right? So she's got a unique sort of magical finishing move in terms of Storm's End, very good heavy hitter, but no way to extend its range. Her armor options are limited, so she would need to get close in order to finish everybody off with it. She has her typical longbow axes and is pretty good with that, as well as several unique kind of sniping moves, one of which drains TP from enemy units, another which saps MP from enemy units, kind of like sub-finisher type moves there. And if that's not enough, she has her overheads and some lightning support abilities like Stun Bomb that she's got access to as well. The thing is, though, it's that lack of armor, lack of range. because she can attack from long range with her bow, but she needs to get a bit closer to use those spells, and she's in many cases going to be functioning like a basic wizard, but using a longbow occasionally instead of spells. And there were not many cases when I would have preferred like a spellbook. In most cases, I would have preferred a spellbook wizard to her, but she is a very cool class. She is very dependable at what she does, and Storm's End is really good. But, but if you decide to, let's say, pair up a water enchantress with a Furia, you are going to annihilate something. Like if you do something like an acid rain right before throwing out Storm's End, that's basically going to be just a giant electrical nuke. So worth considering. All right, next up, the Dragonborn. Same thing as with the Headhunter. Very solid, unique class. Very fun to use. They're primarily built for fun factor. They're very literally a Skyrim unit, which doesn't come with weapon skills, instead using anatomy to rank up their weapon skills. But they are able to use like longbows and fists and daggers and swords. And as well as their area clearing Fusurada shout. It's so corny, but I love it. But yeah, definitely goes into the fun to use box, because I wouldn't necessarily say that I would want them over some of the other ones, but they're very fun. And additionally, it has to count for something that my Dragonborn randomly decided to quit before I did this video, so that was kind of rude of them. Alright, let's see. What the hell did we decide on with the Ranger? Like, I think the Ranger's pretty firmly in the glass cannon box, because he's good at doing the whole sneaky, stabby thing. Actually, no, he went up into dependable, because I remember him being pretty decently evasive. So anyways, let's go ahead and double-check his skill list real quick. Like I said, it's hard to keep all these straight, dude. See what's changed. So as far as his skill list is concerned, we've got Double Shot if you decide to use bows on him, Booby Trap because it's just as good as it is for rogues, Feather Step for getting rid of binds, and then Shadow Walk is his unique ability there, which allows him to teleport behind somebody and do a sneak attack. Very solid move. Bit situational though. It's one of these cases where if you've got the flight ability already, like you're using flight boots or something on him, you don't necessarily need the ability to teleport, because Shadow Walk's whole thing is to teleport into place. Teleport is blocked by Rampart Aura. So I kind of feel like he almost needs a battering ram kind of move. So yeah, in many ways, it's just like the rogue could probably already get into position. He can occasionally do stuff that the rogue can't, but he's also unique and irreplaceable and stuff like that. So, he's a side-graded version of the rogue that can't steal. Technically has longbow access, but loses access to some other things. Like, let me double-check. I remember that being the case anyway. Because, yeah, he gets fists, daggers, swords, katanas. Oh, he does get crossbows. Okay, he does get crossbows and sidearms. So he doesn't really necessarily lose much in terms of access. It's very similar access. I think, don't rogues get, maybe they did get instruments at some point, I don't remember. Anyway, to my mind, they're like a variant of the rogue. You know what, maybe we'll just put them right next to rogue, why not? Like, those traps are so versatile that we gotta at least count for that. The Witcher, we put them under cannons? I believe she preferred the term sex bomb, but I don't remember. Like, in my personal case, I just loaded her up with every augment water item, and she just kind of like one-shots things. So, very effective cannon type of unit, self-buffs herself, and is good at you know, the usual bewitching other people type of thing. It feels like pure offense is kind of what she wants to go for, given her loadout, so we're going to put her over there. Astromancer is like the pure king of versatility when it comes to casters. Does he actually get extend, though, is the question. Let's see here. Astromancer / Oracle. He does get Galaxy Stop, which stops everything. So Galaxy Stop at this point. No, it's not going to tell me what the odds are on that. Oh, well. He does get Ivory Tower. He does get Evanescence, which... Oh, yeah, right. Evanescence, that was the thing. Okay, no, never mind. You go up to Game Changers. Right, forgot about that. So Evanescence... It allows him to teleport and generate MP, which gives him insane movement. Ivory Tower, which is functionally invincibility, so he can turn on God mode, he can shut off the entire map. Very solid game changer, like offensively speaking. Alright, then we got the last few here while we're still at it. So, first of all, we've got the Juggernaut, who's going to be represented by the Orc, straight up into cannons, but, like, very useful cannons. Like, as far as direct, just, like, run up and hit something kind of units, actually, no, they stay just under the Octopus. I love the Juggernaut as it is right now. Like, personally, the one that I was using was just, like, full Vitality gear all the way through, heavy shield, everything, and then Poison Claws. So he just, like, runs up and punches things. And it works great. He is basically invincible. He has constant regeneration on account of momentum. Dude can't die, but he also can't necessarily achieve a kill on his own. He's just there for constant pressure, like a melee version of the Archer that has a less cool hat. From there, we also have the Hoplite, which is, once again, going up into Dependable Soldiers. Yeah, you get to go around, probably around here-ish. Great defense. Great everything. Just they can afford using a power fist and two. Hell, I had one running around with 2 weapons and his defense was high enough to still not even care. Funnily enough, it was the class that did end up dying the most out of all of them because I kept confidently putting them into positions where they were at risk. Maybe don't do that. Okie dokie. And then lastly, we have the 2 undead units. Ghosts, it depends. They're just kind of annoying to get a hold of, and I feel like having a flying set of sheets is not terribly impressive. They can be a wizard, they can be a... I think they can be a familiar at this point, I forget. Not terribly impressed by ghosts. It feels kind of spooky to have one of them around. And then finally, just kind of going right up there next to Hoplite, because the Farampa Hoplite skeleton is just a champion. The dude is amazing. So he gets to go over there. Alright, so that is more or less about that. There's really nothing wrong with that ghost. Actually, come to think of it, no, that ghost has to move. We're going to put the ghost right up there next to the Enchantress, because frankly, you can make a ghost into one of them, and they're insanely powerful, so fine. And they innately teleport, so I guess they're better. Fine, you argued me into that point myself. Anyway, that's going to be about that. So, y'all have yourselves a good one. I hope this was at least somewhat useful, and I gotta get going. Y'all take care.